Monsieur, s'il vous plaît.
It's 1944, the war hanging in a delicate balance. A small squad receives a vital assignment: take down a German radio jamming tower perched on top of an old church in a secluded village. Among them is Boyce, a nervous green private who struggles to win the confidence of his squad mates, especially Tippett, who never misses a chance to ridicule him. Alongside them are Rosenfeld, Grunauer, Chase the war photographer, and Ford, a seasoned demolitions expert with a history of successful missions. As their plane rattles across the dark sky, Boyce accidentally drops his good luck charm, a small chain. Tippett scoops it up and mocks him in front of the others. Sergeant Renson, the commanding officer, strides into the cabin, quizzing his men on the mission. When it's Boyce's turn, he freezes, unable to answer why the Germans placed the tower on a church. Renson responds with a grim reminder: thousands of soldiers storming the beaches will die unless this tower is destroyed. They have less than 2 hours to complete the job. Suddenly, the aircraft is caught in heavy fire. Explosions rip through the night as nearby planes are torn apart one by one. Inside, chaos erupts, bullets shred the fuselage, soldiers scream, some are burned alive. The red jump light flashes, followed by green. The squad leaps, but Boyce hesitates, paralyzed by fear, until Renson shoves him out into the storm of gunfire below. He crashes into a pond, nearly drowns in his parachute, and stumbles into the woods, shaken but alive. There, he sees Sergeant Renson captured and mocked by a squad of Germans. Boyce raises his weapon to intervene, but Ford stops him, forcing him to watch as their leader is executed. With grim resolve, Ford reminds him that the mission comes before everything else. Pushing deeper into the forest, the remaining soldiers regroup. Relief floods over them as familiar faces appear through the trees, but their guard drops too soon. A sudden explosion from a hidden mine scatters them, leaving only a few survivors. Boyce wakes later, dazed and bruised, and stumbles onward with the group. While moving, they find the twisted remains of a strange animal, dog-like in size but warped, hooved, and unnatural. Chase mutters it looks like something from scripture, a hellhound, though Tippett dismisses the idea. Still, unease spreads. Moments later, a young French woman bursts from the trees, terrified and unarmed. Her name is Chloe. At gunpoint, she's forced to lead them to the village. Boyce, who speaks some French, reassures her, and she reluctantly agrees to guide them. Their arrival doesn't go unnoticed. A neighbor reports the noise to the Germans, and soldiers close in. Chloe cleverly covers for them, hiding the squad inside her home. She reveals her younger brother Paul, and reluctantly mentions her sick aunt upstairs. When the men hear strange guttural noises, Chloe explains it's her aunt's illness, but Boyce later discovers the truth. The woman is horribly disfigured, scarred beyond recognition, ever since she returned from the church, the German base. Chloe believes the Nazis experimented on her. That night, German troops patrol the village. An officer, Captain Waffner, forces his way into Chloe's home, threatening her into submission. Ford and Boyce hide in the attic, watching helplessly as Paul distracts the soldiers from discovering them. When Waffner pushes too far, Boyce and Ford finally intervene. They overpower him, tying the officer up and making him their prisoner. With the village under constant patrol, Ford sends Boyce toward the church. From a hidden spot, Boyce watches a truck roll in, packed with people whose bodies are mutilated beyond recognition, barely alive. Inside the German base, horrific experiments are being carried out on both civilians and fallen soldiers. Schmidt, the man orchestrating these cruel tests, oversees the procedures, using French villagers and dead German troops alike. Boyce witnesses one such execution. A flamethrower is used on failed subjects as the doctor watches. Although he doesn't fully grasp the purpose of the experiments, Boyce presses on with his mission, moving cautiously through the dark forest. Suddenly, a German truck rumbles along a nearby road, forcing him to dive into the underbrush. Out of the shadows, a snarling dog attacks, chasing him relentlessly. With no other options, Boyce leaps into the back of the truck. There, he finds piles of disfigured, lifeless bodies, and hides beneath one to avoid detection. The truck delivers its grim cargo to the church compound. As two German soldiers begin unloading it. Boyce slips away unnoticed and makes his way toward the tower, surrounded by enemies. He descends into the church's underground level, a dungeon-like maze, hearing muffled cries from people locked in tiny cells, ducking behind shadows as guards pass. He peers into one cell and freezes. Inside is a grotesque human-animal hybrid, twisted by unnatural science. Meanwhile, Tibet and Chase safely return to Chloe's home. Boyce ventures deeper into the secret labs, discovering horrific mutations. He opens a swinging body bag to find a barely living man, veins pulsing with a strange serum. Nearby, a tray of syringes catches his eye, and he takes one as evidence for Ford. He begins to suspect the red liquid is behind the monstrous transformations. Suddenly, a weak voice calls for help. Pulling back a curtain, Boyce recoils in horror, a severed human head, still alive, begging for release. Further on, he finds Rosenfeld bound to a bed. As he moves to free him, German doctors arrive. Hiding, Boyce watches them inject a corpse with the serum. When it fails, they discard it carelessly. Seizing the moment, Boyce uses a large needle to free Rosenfeld, and together they escape through the sewers, eventually reaching a safe house. Shaken, Boyce recounts the atrocities he witnessed. He shows the serum to Ford. Attempts to interrogate Waffner fail. The prisoner refuses to reveal anything. Fueled by rage, Chloe slashes Waffner's leg, prompting Ford to intensify the interrogation by hanging him up. Boyce tries to intervene but is struck aside. As they plan their assault on the church, Waffner feigns unconsciousness and shoots Chase in a desperate attempt to escape. Chase collapses, and in a final act, Boyce injects him with the serum. Moments later, Chase rises, strong and pain-free, leaving everyone stunned. But the effect soon turns horrific. His body begins to mutate violently, his features twisting, his eyes bloodshot with rage. Ford fires at him to no avail. Waffner reveals the serum's true power. It can turn dead soldiers into monstrous zombie-like creatures. In the ensuing chaos, Boyce crushes Chase's head to prevent further destruction. Waffner seizes the opportunity to grab Paul, Chloe's brother, as German soldiers arrive to take him hostage. Chloe chases after them, unable to catch up, and turns to Boyce for help. Ignoring Ford's orders, Boyce declares their mission has evolved. They must end the experiments, not just destroy the tower. Ford reluctantly agrees, and the team prepares for the final assault. Inside the church, Waffner injects himself with the serum, despite Dr. Schmidt's warnings that it has never been tested on the living. The effect is immediate and grotesque, partially restoring his destroyed face and superhuman strength. Meanwhile, outside in the forest, the squad coordinates their infiltration. Chloe deliberately exposes herself to the Germans, leading them into a trap. Ford incapacitates one soldier, they rig him with explosives, and Rosenfeld and Tibet launch a diversion. Ford, Boyce, and Chloe slip into the base through the sewers, ready to confront the horrors within. Alarm bells ring as the German soldiers notice the small band of Americans attacking, and chaos erupts throughout the base. Boyce and Ford focus on planting explosives around the church, while Chloe refuses to wait and darts off to find her brother Paul. She corners two soldiers in a hallway, holding them at gunpoint, and kills one who refuses to divulge Paul's location. In the communications room, Ford slashes a soldier's throat to set timers for 18 minutes. Anyone lingering too long in the lab will not survive. A soldier tricks Chloe into a cell by claiming her brother is inside. When the cage opens, she finds only a mangled half-body. Fortunately, Boyce reaches her in time, saving her from a gunshot. As they leave, a zombie drags the treacherous soldier inside to be devoured. Quietly, they move toward the lab, where Paul calls out to Chloe. They reunite and find an escape route, but a zombie soldier seizes Chloe and drags her back. Paul flees to the village as Chloe fights off the mutant, shooting it repeatedly, and finally using a flamethrower to reduce it to ashes. Meanwhile, Waffner, mutated and superhuman, spots Ford planting a bomb on the radio tower. He knocks Ford aside, clearly intending something deadly. In another part of the base, Boyce works in the lab when Dr. Schmidt presses a gun to his head, demanding compliance. Boyce fights back, and in the struggle, Schmidt attempts to stab him, but ends up dead. Back in the village, Chloe returns to find Tibet and Rosenfeld locked in a firefight with the remaining German troops. Paul runs into the middle of the battle. Tibet rushes to rescue him, but is injured. Chloe sets an ambush, eliminates the remaining enemies, and tends to Tibet's wounds. Inside the base, Waffner overpowers Ford, throwing him around before impaling him on a meat hook. He reveals the serum's origin. Villagers' bodies were used to distill an ancient power from black resin beneath the settlement, creating invincible soldiers for Germany. Boyce attacks, but Wafner hurls him across the room, revealing compartments full of serum-injected dead soldiers. Ford frees himself and injects the serum to heal instantly. He sacrifices himself to stop Wafner, striking from behind. Both men rapidly mutate during the clash. Though Ford can't defeat Wafner outright, he rolls an oxygen tank beneath him. Boyce shoots the tank, sending Wafner into a pit of tar. Ford locks himself in a cage, knowing he cannot escape, but orders Boyce to destroy the tower. Following Ford's instructions, Boyce sets the explosives in the lab and flees. The church and radio jamming tower collapse as he runs. Outside, the villagers celebrate, and the radio announces the Allied victory. Boyce reunites with Chloe, Paul Tibet, and Rosenfeld, sorrowfully noting Ford didn't survive. Reporting the mission's success, he credits Ford. When asked about the rumored underground lab, Boyce, remembering Ford's words, denies seeing anything. He decides the serum's existence and the horrific experiments must remain secret to prevent further atrocities. The story closes on a moral question. Did Boyce do the right thing by keeping the experiments hidden, or should he have revealed the truth?